Well, we made it to Christmas Day, and now it's time for the best part. Presents! Let's see what we've got here in my non-denominational oversized sock. Winter games on the NES. I used to play the Atari 2600 version when I was a kid. Let's pop this in and see how the NES version is. If you're a fan of mini-games, such as the kind you'd find in the Mario Party or WarioWare games, you'd probably be a fan of Winter Games. It was released by Epyx on the Commodore 64 in 1985 as a sequel to Summer Games, and both feature a fun collection of short Olympic sporting events. On the Commodore 64, you had 7 events to choose from: figure skating, ski jumping, the biathlon, running and shooting, speed skating, free skating, bobsled, and hot dog. Each event had its own unique set of controls to tackle the obstacles and required different skill sets. Shooting in the biathlon requires lightning-fast reflexes, but figure skating requires some long-term planning so you can craft the best routine many moves in advance. In all, Winter Games was a fun little game for the Commodore 64. And then they ported it to practically every other system that existed at the time so everybody could enjoy it. Seriously, there were so many different versions of this game it's hard to keep track of. Look at this! To make things worse, different versions have different amounts and combinations of events. I remember the Atari 2600 version having a slalom event, which wasn't even in the original game. It was anarchy. But a couple of years passed, and in 1987, the NES received a nice and polished port of the game, which featured all 4 events? Yeah, you only get 4 events in the NES version. Some next-gen console, huh? But hey, I'm here to talk about the music. The music for the NES version of Winter Games was composed by Kenichi Tomizawa. I'll use the term composed loosely because a lot of the music here is transcribed from source material. When you pick a country to play as, you hear a snippet of its national anthem. It's kind of like how the nationalities of the characters in Punch-Out are represented by their entrance music. Most of the events consist purely of sound effects and no actual music. One of the exceptions is the figure skating event, which features the Waltz of the Flowers from the Nutcracker by Tchaikovsky. I really think that the NES sound chip does the bass line more justice than the Commodore 64 did. The other event with music in it is speed skating, and it has a seemingly original tune. Unless you think, this sounds familiar. Yeah, catchy. The early ports of this game were pretty fun for their time, but the inclusion of only 4 events on the NES version is just baffling. This couldn't have been a space issue. This was 1987, the same year Zelda 2 came out. Regardless, the gameplay that's there is fun, and the music, though nothing special, gets the job done. Well, most of the time. Well, there you have it. Winter Games on the NES. I hope you've enjoyed NESember. That's it. Thanks for letting me blab about hard-to-remember Japanese people for the last 25 days. But it was fun. So, Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, 2 weeks ago. Happy Kwanzaa, Happy Holidays, Happy Day. Now if you'll excuse me, I have to go fix my broken window.